ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ನೇತ್ರೋತ್ಪಲಶ್ರೀ ಸತತಪರಿಚಯ ದೇಶಸಂವರ್ಧ್ಯಮಾನಃ ನಾಭಿ ನಾಳೀಕರಿಂಕನ್ ಮಧುಕರಪಟಲಿ ದತ್ತಹಸ್ತಾವಲಂಬಃ ಅಸ್ಮಾಕಂ ಸಂಪದೋಗಾನ್ ಅವಿರಳತುಳಸಿ ಧಾಮಸಂಜಾತಭೂಮಾ ಕಾಳಿಂದಿ ಕಾಂತಿಹಾರಿ ಕಲಯತು ವಪುಷಃ ಕಾಳಿಮಾ ಕೈಟಭಾರೇಃ உலகம் யாவையும் தாம் உள ஆக்கலும் நிலை பெருத்தலும் நீக்கலும் நீங்களா அலகிலா விளையாட்டுடையார் அவர் தலைவர் அன்னவர்க்கே சரண் நாங்களே. Namaskaram and Vanakkam to the August gathering. Indeed, my blessing and pleasure to be integral to Sarvam, which is happening with the fullest dedication, sincerity, goodwill and the support of a plethora of Rotarians across the Rajdhani of Tamil Nadu, which is Chennai. The topic that I have been ordained to speak is on the selfless service, which is keeping service above self. தமிழில் இப்போ படங்களில் சொல்லக்கூடிய ஒரு சாஸ்திரோர்த்தமான ஒரு வரி, திருநெல்வேலிக்கே அல்வாவா திருப்பதிக்கே லட்டு வாங்குற மாதிரி, Rotarians are here serving for decades, serving the society in multiple ways. So when you have been doing a human service of doing so much to the society, I'm just parroting what you do on the stage through a talk. Our scriptures that we have bequeathed in Sanatana Dharma, in the civilization that we know of in this country, speaks immensely about service. In fact, I can recite or remember two sayings which are very prominent. Paropakarartham idam shariram. Para upakaram, help, not help within the family. Maybe it has to go beyond the boundaries of one's blood relationship. So, para upakaram, paropakarartham idam shariram. This body is meant to serve others, is what Sanatana Dharma says. And how big should the service be? That's another million crore question. Probably we have been used to calling it $1 million question. I just thought let's make it $1 million rupee question, because I'm sure we are at a very bright spot in the economy and the rupee will do much better than the dollar in the coming years. So we can still call it the $1 million rupee question. How big should the service be? For this, an epithet which is often used is Yatha Shakti. Ungalala evlo panna mudiyumo pannungo. This is a word that we have come across often. Yatha Shakti. Yatha Shakti, Yatha Mati. உங்களுக்கு எவ்வளோ புரியுறதோ புரிஞ்சுக்கோங்க. We are clear about that. யதா சக்தி, உங்களால் எவ்வளோ பண்ண முடியுமோ பண்ணுங்கோ. So this யதா ததா, எவ்வளவோ, that எவ்வளவு is very little. In Sanskritam, that very little is kinchit. Kinchit means very little. So there is a saying in our Shastram, akinchitkarasya seshatvo anupapattihi. Without performing even an iota of service, existence is a worthless bauble. It is a waste. Akinchitkarasya seshatvo anupapattihi. So when you do that kinchit service, it is called kainkaryam. So the one who keeps asking, can I do this? Kim Karavani, he is called King Kara. And this is the way we etymologically derive such words. When service is kept above the self, who are the examples that probably we can remember, cherish, keep them stapled in our memories? One, In Srimad Ramayanam, we come across this very interesting character called Lakshmana. He knew that the life ahead of him, while his brother was asked to go on an exile for 14 years, Lakshmana was completely cognizant that the life ahead of him, if he were to choose to accompany Rama to the forest, was infested with thorns and stones. He was not assuming that he's going to enjoy a bed laid with the petals of the lotuses and the lilies. No. At that point in time, he goes and tells his brother, I will do every possible service to you. We may have a counter question. I believe Sri Rangaraj Pandey spoke yesterday. There are two ways of answering a question. Either you open your mouth and say or nod your head. Either way works for me. Yeah. So, Sri Rangaraj Pandey, had he been here, he would have countered me. I am blessed that on a Sunday morning, he has already finished it on a Saturday and he is not here. So, if Lakshmana chooses to serve Rama, what is so great about it? The brother is serving another brother. It happens. But it was not service that was laid with comforts. He had to relinquish his family, the comforts that he was enjoying for years since his birth. So it was not something that was thrust upon him. It was a choice that he made. That choice was to serve. Sabhratus charanau gadham nipidya raghunandaraha sitam uvacha atishayam Raghavam cha mahavratam aham sarvam karishyami jagrataha svapatascha Pinnum pagarval magane ivan pinchel tambi ennum padiyendru adiyarin ஏவல் செய்தி மன்னும் நகர்க்கே அவன் வந்திடில்வா அன்னேல் முன்னம் முடியன பால்முலை சோரனின்றாள் says Kamban in Ayodhya Kandam. So his service was selfless in a way. So we have a brother serving his other brother selflessly in the forest. So that is service for recognition. Because today we recognize Lakshmana in every portrait. So there will be a Ram, there will be a Sita, there will be a Hanuman, there will be a Lakshmana. Even if you go to Bhadrachalam, you will find Lakshmana standing next to Rama there. So the presence and the service of Lakshmana is recognized. He is never abused. He is never ever mistaken. His service is acknowledged. His presence is cherished. Today, even today, we recognize. Let's go to another character similar to Lakshmana called Bharata. Bharata too served Rama selflessly for 14 years. Bharata too was cognizant that service is utmost essential for one's self-progress and at a later stage emancipation too. Bharata too was cognizant that he had to live a life leaving away the comforts and the riches that he was enjoying. But Bharata's service is generally not acknowledged. Rather, he was a recipient of the ill effects of hero worship. Hero worship is a huge evil that has marred the Indian society and our civilization. I am not even getting close to the field of cinema industry and politics. These two fields are marred with this pathogen called as hero worship. The ill effects of hero worship is extremely detrimental to the wellness of the society. Because in hero worship, you venerate the person so much. ஐயோ இப்பேற்பட்டவர்னு சொல்லி அதே திறமையோடு கூடி இருக்கக்கூடிய இன்னொருவரின் அந்த திறமையை உணராத சமுதாயமாக இருக்கும். That is the ill effect. We venerate that personality, be it the man or the woman in the cinema or in the field of politics so much. இவருக்கு நிகர் கிடையாது, இவர் இல்லைன்னா இன்னொருத்தர் கிடையாது அப்படின்னு சொல்லி அவருக்குள்ளேயே ஒரு 4 பேர் இருப்பா, நன்னா வேலை பார்க்குறவா. We won't recognize them. That is what happened to Bharata. Bharata was selflessly serving Rama. But his mother, Kaikeyi, did not understand him. Had she understood her son well, she would have never posed those boons to Dasharatha. The mother did not understand. The father Dasharatha tells, if at all today Rama is going to the forest, it is because of your son Bharata. He will not be entitled to perform my last rites. The father pronounces and dies. Father did not understand. Brother Lakshmana, he tells, my dear brother Ram, I see Bharata approaching us. He must be coming to guillotine you. I will kill him before that. Brother does not recognize Bharata's service. Next comes Kaushalya, Ramamata. When Bharata goes and seeks solace at her feet, she says, do not act as if you do not know what your mother ever did. She says, this hurts Bharata, and he's put into the deep, muddled waters of depression. Bharadwaja Maharshi, the learned person, he says, Bharata, I think you should be ascending the throne now that the path to the throne is thorn free. Guha, the head of the tribals, he says, I hope you have not come to disturb the tranquility and peace that your brother is enjoying in the forest. So Bharata was also selflessly serving Rama. But there are certain people in every organization, in every family, who selflessly serve, but their karma will be, their service will never be recognized. They are called the unsung heroes. இப்போ நாங்கள்லாம் டான்ஸ் ப்ரொடக்ஷன் பண்ணுறோம், நாடகம் பண்ணுறோன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, முன்னாடி ஆடுறவா பேசுகிறவாளெல்லாம் ஆஹா ஓஹோ ரொம்ப நன்னா நடிச்சேள் என்னம்மா டைலாக் டெலிவரிலாம் சொல்லிவிடுவோம். Behind the stage is where the real support lies. Because after you finish one act of Kathakali and you go back, you have to remove all those ornaments. There will be 10 people working with you to remove that. They will fit the Mohini Attam dress, but those people rarely get recognition. The one who stays on the stage serving is Lakshmana. The one behind the stage is Bharata. So selfless service is both recognized and less recognized. So we have examples for that. Over and beyond that, when we look at the services offered by someone who is not related at all, at least for Bharata and Lakshmana, probably we can think of a blood relationship. Just for an example, ஏதாவது ஃபில் பண்ணோன்னா இவர் A positive, அவர் A positive. என்ன birds of the same feather flock together. They are after all brothers னு சொல்லிவிடலாம். I'm just giving you an example of A positive. I don't know what their blood group was. There are plenty of doctors seated here. They may want empirical proof from me. I don't have any blood samples. I'm just going by one group that I know of. There are many such groups. One person who was not related at all, he was Vijatiya Vastu. He didn't belong even to that kingdom. Of course, in biology, you come across this kingdom, phylum, species, genus, and all of that. He didn't belong to any of it. He was a Vanara. We have often been told in lectures, call him a monkey. Technically, it will be a problem to say Vanara means monkey. We've been told for years and millenniums, probably even centuries, that Vanara means monkey. Need not be a monkey. He could have been a person of a clan that was mimicking the humans and had some attributes of the monkey clan, but they had the attributes of the human race as well. They could have been well spoken. நல்லா பேசக்கூடியவாளாக இருந்திருக்கலாம், ஆனால் குரங்கு ஜாதியினுடைய அங்கங்கள் குணாதிசயங்கள் இருந்திருக்கலாம். We don't know. So technically, let's keep him as a Vanara itself. Hanuman was a boy who was never exposed to service. I'll tell you why. Because generally, I remember the days, I'm sure a lot of you veterans here will be remembering the school days when at least I remember waiting for the teacher to tell, Dushyanth, go get those books from the staff room. So it used to be such an honor. It is bigger than the tiara that the Miss Universe and the Miss World sports. Of course, I may not have a Miss Paraguay and a Miss Venezuela to support if I were to swoon. I may not have. But still, that is worth the recognition that I get. The teacher tells, go get the books from the staff room. It's like I'm time traveling to the abode of Vaikuntham and getting back the books. Retrieving. அந்த அளவுக்கு ஒரு பெருமை இருக்கும். இதெல்லாம் சர்வீஸ் மென்டாலிட்டிக்கு ஒரு சின்ன லட்சணம். Of course, you can't do that. My mother is a teacher. She still teaches now. If you do that, if you just go ask a child to fetch the books from the staff room, it's called child labor. I'm sure my mother has to spend the rest of her life in the jail, so which she is not ready. So she says it's okay, even if I can't, I don't mind carrying the loads of books and coming here. So, service is something that we are exposed to even in our school days. Hanuman wasn't. He was the only student to Surya Bhagavan. Being the only student, he was not given any kind of burden because the teacher was upset that if I trouble him, I may end up losing even this one student. Generally, when the audience strength is very thin, you have one or two people in the audience, the speaker is subservient to them. Coachin poitan vachunga apra peche nirtha vendiyadhaan. So Surya was very, very aware that he should not be tormenting Hanuman. So service wasn't there exposed in his school days. Hanuman studied in only a boys only school. So co-ed wasn't his option. So he didn't even have a peer with him. So service was never something that he had for himself. But later, when he strikes friendship with Rama and recognizes that Rama is bereft of his wife because his wife has been abducted by a king, supposedly a demon from one of the island nations, he says, I shall help Rama. Now comes a bigger question. What made him do so? Because Lakshmana and Bharata served Rama because Lakshmana thought service is my virtue. Bharata thought I have to compensate for the damage, the collateral moral damage that my mother has caused. So it was a kind of prayaschittam for Bharata. But what was Hanuman's role? That is where Hanuman was one of the first few Rotarians. So if at all you're planning to begin your membership again and issue your numbers, please do it to Hanuman first. His name is K. Sundar. As per the Gazette, his name is Sundar. His father was Kesari. So K. Sundar should be given the first card. He served Rama selflessly. So selfless that after having taken up a trip to Lanka in the mid of the night, with very little resources. See, whenever you begin a conference such as this, you will be scouting for sponsors. There has to be an event sponsor, there has to be a title sponsor, and sponsors will need recognition. Their banners need to be put. They will give you specifications. Use the white background. This top dimension should be 300 pixels. Do not over pixelate it. The blue color should come up well. Can we put a standee outside? Can we have a counter there? Can we distribute our pamphlets? All this comes as riders with the sponsorship. Hanuman went in the mid of the night and came back. What was the gift given to him? His tail was burnt. So, service may also just not cause one to not be recognized. You may even get punishment for performing service. Hanuman is a standing testimony to the fact that service is to be kept above the self. One thing that kind of makes me contemplate, internalize is, should service always be in the form of a material? Should we always say that, okay, I'll give you a space to sit, a space to advertise, I will give you this. I'm sure Rotary various chapters are doing services that we can't even think of. But one important service that the ancient Vedic civilization has recognized is the concept of giving mental wellness. Mental wellness is very important for the goodwill of the society. I'm just saying it on a lighter vein. Please do not treat me or my character so badly after having said this. At least till the 1990s, when we were exposed to only 22 minutes of news every day. It used to come between 8 to 8:25. That was the only way you will know what is happening around the world. So at that point in time, towards the end, the weather report would be read. And the person would say, in the Bay of Bengal, there is a depression. So, I was always thinking, leave alone the Websters and the Merriams, I was always thinking that depression occurs only in the Bay of Bengal. But in the last 15 years, whether it occurs in the Bay of Bengal or not, we Homo sapiens are depressed at some point in time. And of course, people do come out and say that I was under depression for 2 years, 3 years. So then I listened to your lectures, or I listened to your lectures and then got depression, whichever way. So I'm either the cause or the solution. So, mental wellness is an essential part of selfless service. Hanuman was that mental wellness giver. When Rama was depressed that his wife was missing, he said, don't worry, don't get depressed, I will find a solution for this. When Sita was about to commit suicide, in Sundarakandam, Sita is about to commit suicide is when Hanuman comes. So he tells, don't worry, there will be a solution for this. I will assure you that you will be united with your husband. When Bharata is about to fall into the blazing fire, he goes and tells, don't worry, your brother is coming. So at every point in time in the Ramayana, there is a person called Hanuman who gives mental wellness. Now, there will be unparalleled intellectuals that our country is blessed with. They will ask, in Ramayana has Valmiki said the word mental wellness? First of all, he didn't write it in English. To convince that person of linguistic skills itself is an art. So, it may not be called mental wellness, but it will be called as Chitta Shuddhi, equivalent to mental wellness. Coming to another person who even sacrificed his life in the process of serving, in the process of protecting, in the process of guarding a woman whom he had assured to guard, was Jatayu. There are many organizations that celebrate the services of the animals. There are many dogs in the security services, due to which many huge bomb events are thwarted. Those animals are recognized. So here we have Jatayu. Jatayu sacrificed his life for the sake of protecting a woman whom he had assured to protect. He was a scavenger. He was a vulture. Akshunya yoga patham agrahyatam Jatayum tiryanchameva bhavatam, says the poet. Vara nitila vara Jatayu moksha phalada pavamana, says the Vagekara, Saint Tyagaraja of Tiruvayyaru Kshetram. The interesting line where the poet describes Jatayu's service, is Jatayu had a barter. He said, I will give up my life and in exchange I will get fame. Vikrita jivita gridharaja deha didaksha lakshita bhakta jana dakshinya, says Vedanta Deshika, the 13th century polymath and poet. So service has been kept above the self. Another service that I can think of in the Puranas. There was a person called Vritra. Vritrasura is what we call him. Vritra, he was born as a result of wrong sound while the pronunciation happened. See, as a country, we have gone so much into linguistics and phonetics that the right way of sounding a certain letter and the wrong way can actually result in consequences that you couldn't even think of, you have even dreamt of. So in that process we have Vritra, because Indrashatroho, instead of Indrashatroho, Indrashatroho was said. So he was born as a result of it. So the right usage of words and sound is what matters. So this Vritra had to be killed. Puranam tells that the only way Vritra could be killed was using a weapon which occurred naturally in the body. Naturally in the body, what weapon occurs? I can think of nails. But this man's skin was too thick for the nails to tear apart. So he was beyond the scope of sharpened nails. So that is when they all have a group discussion and come to the conclusion that the backbone is the only way which could be sharpened and converted into a weapon. Who will be ready to sacrifice their backbone? So they all went to a rishi called Dadhichi. This Dadhichi said, what have you all come for? These people expressed the situation and they said that we need your backbone, sir. Imagine what will be the person's reaction. Somebody comes and asks us, give us your backbone. So Dadhichi was flabbergasted, shocked, but he said, I'm serving the larger purpose, so kill me and take my backbone. So service has gone to that extent. It is not even selfless service. You are losing the self to get that particular backbone. So paropakararthamidam shariram. I began my speech with this line. This body is meant for serving others, was literally taken by Dadhichi. He said, my body is literally meant for serving you all, kill me and take my backbone. So that particular backbone was what was sharpened and converted into a weapon called Vajrayudham. Vajrayudham is Dadhichi's backbone. So the calcium deposit backbone is what is Indra's weapon. So he is having calcium rod in his hand. Where do we come across service again? If we see one of the stalwarts that this state has produced, it has produced many. Tamil Nadu is an ancient civilization in itself. One personality whom we have known, adored, is Bhagavad Ramanuja. He was a philosopher, a consummate poet, and a reformer extraordinaire that the 11th century has seen. He lived for a span of 120 years, between 1017 and 1137. He lived 110 years before the Oxford University was born. So this saint philosopher was born a few kilometers away from here in a hamlet called Sri Perumbudur. Ramanuja had to walk to his Pathashala, which used to be about 45 kilometers away. Every day he used to walk, and then with some disagreements with his teacher, he changed his school. So if if students can disagree with their teachers, one apt example that I can think of is Bhagavad Ramanuja. He even changed his school. But he did that very respectfully, though. Then he was under the tutelage of 5 other acharyas. One of the acharyas was a very tough nut to crack, Narikela Pakam. Whenever we describe Sanskrit poetry, we talk about Narikela Pakam. Narikela Pakam means to understand that form of poetry, you need to break all the words, put them into the right order. It's called Anvaya Kramam, and then understand. It's not Draksha Pakam. Certain verses are very easy to understand. Iniya ulavaga innada kooral kaniruppa kai kavarandatru. Easy. You can understand to some extent. Annavadival asayum annanadayal uyarum annavara seri varuval attanayan attanayan uttiyana attiyana uttipuriyal. You need at least 2 hours of Tamil session to understand this verse. This is Narikela Pakam. It's a tough nut to crack. Amongst the preceptors under whom Ramanuja was tutored was one preceptor called Tirukoshtiyur Nambi. Tirukoshtiyur is a beautiful temple town closer to Pudukkottai. So this Acharya used to live there, and Ramanuja wanted to first impress upon him that he will be a dutiful student. So he would walk miles from Srirangam to Tirukoshtiyur every day, knock at the door of the Guru and say, Adiyen Ramanujan vandirukken. I am Ramanuja, your subservient person. I have come to learn something from you. The teacher would immediately answer. He would say, Innikku vendam. Naalekku va. Not possible today. Come tomorrow. Ramanuja would walk back to Srirangam, finish his duties. The next morning, he used to again walk till Tirukoshtiyur. And the teacher used to repeat the same dialogue. Innikku vendam. Naalekku va. Had I been in Ramanuja's place, I would have just said, hell with this person. I can do better things on Stanford online courses. I will get my LMS solution from Moodle. I will apply on my own and I will get things done. But Ramanuja did not want to give up. 17 times he walked to this teacher's house. And the 18th time is when Ramanuja is asked to come into the premises of Tirukoshtiyur Nambi, and Tirukoshtiyur Nambi tells him, I am going to teach you the quintessence of Sanatana Dharma. If you learn this particular mantra rakshana gudhatma karya siddhim prakashayet, this particular little bite, if you understand the quintessence of it, later you will get salvation, moksham. But he also gives him a rider. He says, do not teach this to people if they are not interested in it. You will have to test them a lot. Ramanuja now thinks that service should be kept above the self. Service also means mental wellness. Mental wellness can happen only when you give easy, inexpensive, easily followable and admirable solutions to people. So Ramanuja goes to the top of the Vimanam. I'm sure a lot of you who have visited Tirukoshtiyur will know that the Vimanam above the Sanctum Sanctorum in Tirukoshtiyur is a very unique one. It follows an architecture style called as Ashtangam. Ashtangam means where you have various tiers to the Vimanam. Vimanam is generally one piece, but if you've got various tiers to it, it becomes Ashtangam. You have an Ashtanga Vimanam in the middle of Madurai called Kudallalagar Temple. It is called Ashtanga Vimanam. Tirukoshtiyur has Ashtanga Vimanam. Kallidai Kuruchi near Tirunelveli has Lakshmi Varaha Kshetram, an Ashtanga Vimanam. 8th century Ashtanga Vimanam is in the Vaikuntha Perumal temple in Kanchipuram of the Pallavan architecture. An Ashtanga Vimanam that is outside India is the 12th century Angkor Wat temple called Paramavishnu Loka, built by Suryavarman II of the Khmer dynasty. So these are all Ashtanga Vimanam. So in Tirukkoshtiyur, while Ramanuja went to the top of the Vimanam, he was able to face the village and the villagers easily. He was a towering personality. So while he looked at the villagers, he said, I am going to give you a solution to a lot of the mental problems that you will be marred of facing. That is through complete surrender, unconditional surrender to the Almighty. That very moment, his guru comes running. He says, what have you done? I told you, unless and until the person comes and asks, expresses his or her willingness, is ready to do all forms of services, you have tried and tested him or her, and then you give this mantra artham, it is fine. You are just giving it in bulk, wholesale. Is this right? Along with that, the teacher tells, for having digressed from what I have said, for having gone tangential to what I have told, since you have performed this act, Ramanuja, you may be entitled to hell. You may have to go to hell. Ramanuja said, well, I am aware that if I go tangential or against what my teacher has taught, I may be entitled for hell. But one thing, if so many people are benefiting from what I have said, I don't mind rotting in hell. So that is when the teacher said, what kind of a service mentality this man has towards the society. He hasn't kept it for himself. That is when Bhagavad Ramanuja said, I am going to pass on this service mentality for a set of people. The teacher asked in the 11th century, who are they? He said, the Rotarians who are performing Sarvam. So, all of you in the state of Tamil Nadu, which has seen such towering personalities such as Ramanuja, who was a reformer, his reformation is remarkable because he didn't go against the existing system. He stayed within the system and reformed the system. He didn't, in the course of reforming, he didn't develop a distaste towards any strata of the society. He rather brought all kinds of people together and said reformation can happen only with consensus through spreading the word of love, affection, and matured bhakti, devotion. So we are all, in a way, the predecessors of Ramanuja blessed him, and we, the successors of Ramanuja, are blessed by him. So, paropakararthamidam shariram, this body is meant for service. Service is above oneself, selfless service. All of this can be seen through Lakshmana, who served Rama, Bharata, the unsung hero who served behind as the crew and served Rama, Jatayu, who gave up his life for Rama. Hanuman does not belong to the category, yet did a yeoman service in giving solace to the characters in Ramayana. Dadhichi, who gave up his backbone for the cause of protection. And we have Ramanuja, for the goodwill and the mental wellness of the society, did so. With this, I would like to have my last 5 minutes for a question. So, no session should just be a monologue. Gone are the days of the friends, Romans, and countrymen, I come to bury Caesar. So, I would rather not keep it like the speech of Mark Antony nor King Jakes of As You Like It. So, let there be a question, because we as a civilization, as a living civilization, we have always encouraged questioning. Without questioning, this civilization won't exist. We as a civilization are very unique. We always encourage questioning. Arjuna questioned, Krishna answered. Valmiki questioned, Narada answered. Janamejaya questioned, Vaishampayana answered. Madhura Kavi Alvar questioned, Nammalvar answered. Maitreya questioned, Parashara answered. Parikshit questioned, Shukabrahmam answered. Yudhishthira questioned, Bhishmacharya answered. All the scriptures that we know of today is a compendium of conversations. So as a civilization, we don't threaten people if you question. Please ask questions. The only thing that comes along with this, only if I know the answer, I can answer, because there are veterans waiting for the next sessions to come. We don't, sir?
Good morning.
Namaste.
Thank you for the wonderful lecture which we've been listening to. It's been inspirational. My question is, in service, if we decide to contribute for a temple or a church or a whatever you want to call that, any religious, what do we get in return? Let us say we contribute money, we put money in the hundi. What do we get in return?
Ideally, I'm talking about an ideal scenario, religious institutions should also equally, bereft of religion, should use the donations that they get in giving different forms of dhanam, charity. They should do charity in return, like Vidya Dhanam. They should have educational institutions. Temples should run educational institutions. Because without education, without jnanam, temples won't serve the purpose. So they should have educational institutions. There used to be hospitals. In the 13th century, while the invasion happened in Srirangam at the Dhanavantri Sannidhi.
I'm sorry. My question was, what does the giver get?
Sir?
What does the person giver get?
Oh, giver. Giver gets, maybe he shouldn't even expect his name printed on the tube light there. Giver should be so selfless that he should not even have his name printed. Sadly, today, every temple will have a huge tube light with the name of the person inscribed on it in such a way that the light is not serving its purpose. So, to your question on a lighter vein, sir, the giver shouldn't expect anything. That's all. I would rather conclude here because we have the other sessions waiting and happening. But again...
Sir, just one question.
Yeah, sure, sir. Let this be the last question.
Should we expect a reward for the service? Should we accept a reward for the service?
Should we expect? Ideally, I would say no. Should we accept if it comes? Yes. Because acceptance is a gesture of love. Expectation is a product of greed. So you expect, you show your greed. You accept, you show your humility. So accepting is okay, expecting is wrong. So, but expecting that you will be given something is also greed. So I would say accepting is fine, sir.
Thank you. Just one last remark on that. உறக்க சொல்வோம் ஊருக்குன்றாங்க. ஏன் பாக்கி பேருக்கும் இதனால inspiration வருமோன்னு. Don't you think any act of service should be well publicized so that others are inclined to join?
Yeah. So it is a very, very thin rope that we have to walk, because if we have to advertise services, then of course there will be a criticism or even a critiquing that could happen that you're overdoing it. But without advertising, this will not become a moral booster and something that people can look up to. So in the current scenario, I feel that adequate amount of advertising should be given for services, else people wouldn't know what kind of services we have to engage in. So if Rotary is doing or planning to do, from my side, in my humble opinion, IMHO, I would rather say services should be publicized for the general goodwill of the public. I would take leave here. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful 9:15 a.m. audience in the morning. I'm sure breakfast takes little time for it to digest and the blood glucose levels to rise. I just hope I was decent enough to not putting you all to sleep with a lullaby in the morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think each and every line were a pearl of wisdom, sir. I think everybody will agree with me when I say it was a pearl of wisdom. I request Rotarian PDG Chari and Ambalavanan, Rotarian Chairman of this district conference, to honor and felicitate Sri Dushyanth Sridhar. I think the service you're doing to us is something which we are truly, truly grateful for.